All right, Glen Phillips. Thank you.
Yeah, glad to be here.
I was preparing to talk to you the way that I would prepare to come to one of your shows, which is like you sort of bulk listen to all the music. Do you do this before you go see someone?
Put on a playlist and drive around.
You like listen to them for a few days to get yourself going so you can sing along at the show. And of course, I was listening to Walk on the Ocean, which is how I came to you, probably in college, listening to that song, driving out to UCSB, and brings back a lot of good memories. And I put all sorts of interpretation into it. And then I looked it up to like, what is this song? Like, what does this song mean? And it sounds like it doesn't really have like a...
No, it was pretty random, actually. I had been with my first wife. We'd just gone up to the San Juan Islands, and we were at Doe Bay on Orcas Island. And, had been like sitting in the springs with a bunch of hippies. And so that probably influenced it a little bit, but it was literally a 5-minute lyric. And the chorus, I have no idea what it means at all. But we just kind of threw it down, and I tried to rewrite it, and it felt right as it was. So we just left it pretty much.
It's like a Rorschach. Like you can put your own interpretation onto it. I had always interpreted it for myself, Walk on the Ocean, as a love song to the ocean and the ocean within me. I mean, I'm just like ocean obsessed, right? And I think it was Rick Rubin. Have you read his book on creativity?
I have not finished it. Yeah.
Well, it's an open. You just open to whatever page. But he has a little thing in there where he talks about the ocean, and he says the ocean is like a better reflection than a mirror of ourselves, right? So I love that song. It's a good.
I like that song too, but it's an odd one because there wasn't much intent in it. And there it is.
Yeah. So you started at 15. You were in this band at San Marcos High School, which is our local high school here in Santa Barbara. My husband taught at San Marcos.
Oh, sweet.
A lot of friends come out of San Marcos. Tell us a little bit about just the launching of Toad the Wet Sprocket, and then I want to get to now, like what's happening for you now in the creative process.
Yeah, I mean, the band it just happened kind of organically. We were all in theater and choir together. I was a freshman, they were seniors. And Todd had like a Woody station wagon, and I found out lived 2 blocks away from me, and I was lazy and didn't want to bike home. So I kept asking him if I could throw my bike in the back and come home. And he had a cool record collection and turned me on to a ton of music, turned me on to Husker Du and the Replacements and U2 and Elvis Costello. And so we started writing songs together, and then put the band together. And the one place we could play near us was this place called Pat's Grass Shack. And he was really cheap, so he wouldn't pay ASCAP and BMI. So if you have a club...
Wait, what's that? What's BMI?
So those are performance rights associations. And so if you're a club that has music as part of your offering, you're a public place, and the music, it's like paying for the paintings on your walls. You can't just turn on the radio. If you turn on the radio, you also have to actually pay the songwriters because you're playing music in a venue. So we had to write original songs right out of the gate, which most bands don't have to do. And so just kind of kept moving forward.
But you're like little boys. I mean, you're like 15 years old, 16 years old while you're doing this?
Yeah, I was 15, 16.
Yeah, I mean, I have a 15-year-old. I
know.
can't imagine him being that organized.
It wasn't that organized. Yeah. I mean, we were just playing gigs, but it was fun to write songs. And then Brad Knack, the local artist here in Santa Barbara, he wanted a backup band on 2 songs. And he said if we recorded 2 songs for him, we could record 2 songs of our own. And we just went in and played them live. And we're like, wow, that was easy. We should do 8 more and have an album.
Yeah.
And so we spent $600 and recorded 8 more songs. And we had a 10-song record. And that ended up like just getting handed around. We never even sent out a demo. I was planning on going to San Francisco. I was inspired by high school teachers, so I thought I'd do that. And instead, Dead Week that year, when I was 18, we ended up flying to New York and signing with Columbia Records and went on tour. Most people who end up in my position have sacrificed everything to be there. And I really fell into it. And I think one of my struggles in the years since has been like expecting the hand of God to come down and just make this crazy miracle happen again. And repeatedly realizing that life doesn't normally work that way.
Or maybe you're getting other kinds of miracles.
I'm getting other kinds of miracles, but that kind of, sudden life shift, I think because of how it happened, we might have taken it a little for granted. It was definitely a surprise. It was not the life or the career I thought I'd have. And part of wanting to be a teacher was my David Holmes, who was my theater teacher. It was his first year, and he had said, he became a teacher because he loved the theater more than anything else. And all his friends were going off to New York or Chicago, and he realized he didn't think his heart could handle auditioning constantly and constant rejection and constant judgment. And I was like, that's me.
Yeah.
I'll be a teacher.
Yeah.
So,
but there's something about those early years in terms of the energetic flow of your creativity, the band's creativity, the constraints, like, nope, sorry, you can't copy anyone. You got to do original stuff to get on the stage.
Yeah.
And this is the benefit of being a teenager. You have less of that frontal lobe holding you back, right? You're just sort of like, go for it.
Yeah.
That then had this organic build. And this is what we were talking about with the yoga class, because the way that I started with Walk on the Ocean as a college student, but now the way that I encounter you is in this magical space on Tuesday nights that I get to cry every single Tuesday when you play, where your wife leads this amazing yoga class, and then you close us out with Glen Phillips and Shavasana, and it's like, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It feels like it's the same kind of energetic flow without the constraints of auditioning or it has to be a certain way.
Or success or any of the externals. I mean, it was easy to write and be creative as a kid because, I don't know, I didn't question it, right? And I've always found, the resistance. I somehow, cleared and lubricated that path where I feel, for the most part, like I have a right to write songs. And it's amazing how resistance comes up if it comes to prose or an essay or anything else. All of a sudden, I'm like, well, I'm not Salman Rushdie. Like, why should I bother putting pen to paper? Like, I can't do this. And in music, I mostly don't get that. Like, well, Bob Dylan did it better. Like, why bother?
Huh?
Most days, I come up with other reasons not to write if I'm procrastinating, if I'm being avoidant. But I found after the band and after my divorce, I'd been kind of bitter about music for a while because it was tied with these metrics of external success and something I couldn't return to, right? That thing of being on a major label, having hits as a kid. And when you're working in the business, like, those are the metrics that count. Like, how many people bought a ticket? How much have you sold? Are you big enough? You got to get bigger. Like, there's not a sense of enoughness ever on the business side of the creative world. And I mean, I'm really happy I have a personal manager now who's the first person who ever said to me, like, you don't need to get anywhere. You have a great career.
You're there.
And I was like, really? I'd worked with other people before, and they were always, you're such a good songwriter. You should be huge. We got to get you back on the radio. And I would fail at that. And I would feel terrible about myself. And just that difference. And Toad's management is like that too. They're like, you're a legacy band. You got a great career. Our job now is finding people who, if you mention us, they go, oh, I love that band. Do they still play?
It just happened to be, I was interviewing this guy, this Columbia psychiatrist at Columbia University. And I was like, Glen Phillips, he talks about creativity this way. And he's like, oh, I love that band.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, and then you're instantly there, like remembering, listening to your music. But you're also instantly there now. I mean, you have the legacy of your band, but you have the beauty of what you're creating now. So there's also something really special about what you create here in our community that it's different than the big label. It's like sacred, spiritual spaces where you're doing songs with people.
I'd had that mindset.
Yeah.
And I've always struggled with depression. And so I was in this state of just depression, feeling like I was a failure, and after my divorce, I guess I described it to you as the psychedelic Rumspringa. But that brought music to me in a new way. And I found in these kind of ceremonial circles that I could pray without being religious. I could pray, and my entire life I've had something spiritual coming out of me, but I didn't have a practice or a belonging in a community or a place where it felt like I fit there. Yeah. And there was something about the openness of that community where these songs all of a sudden took on new meaning. And through that, I discovered community singing, where it's people in a circle together singing uplifting spiritual songs, not a trained choir, not a performance choir. What I love about that music is that there's no performing. You sing to each other, with each other, for each other. And I started leading these song circles at a friend's house. And it was just so beautiful to get to make music and have it be completely outside the legacy of the band. This idea of, once again, these commercial metrics of success. Yeah. And just leave people feeling good. And it really changed how I saw music, changed how I eventually saw the band and my own career, and changed how I wanted to write music, because it started feeling like a spiritual practice, and also a spiritual offering. And I wanted to write songs that would give people a little more ground under their feet when they needed it. And I'd always written sad songs, and I still write a lot of more melancholy material, but there is something about, when being able to write from that place of vulnerability, and that I know that other people are going through the same struggles I'm going through. So if I'm writing honestly about my struggle, it's going to translate to somebody else. And dealing more with, I think, emotional specifics, and even within that, emotional ambiguity, because, or I guess, is it ambiguity I'm looking forward to, or there's that much better word, ambivalence. But like the actual meaning of ambivalence, ambivalent, right? It's dual valence, dual track. Right. And we think of being ambivalent as meaning that we don't feel strongly about something, or we don't really care about it. And ambivalent just means it can mean one part of you is saying, go, please do that. Like, it would be so wonderful. Take that chance. And the other part is going, you will fail. Please protect yourself. Don't. Just stop. Be afraid. And it's those ambivalent feelings that I think are so much truer than some primary color attitude towards emotion. Like a pure happy song. Like a happy song is really better if it has some sadness in it. And it's like the little balls in Inside Out. Right. They need more colors. Right.
Well, you're in your 2022 album, the one that I think it's your most recent full album. Yeah. As I was binge listening this morning on my run, there was one with a lot of that ambivalence to it. It's about love, the song, and the ambivalence of the liking, or the wanting and the needing that happens in love. Which is the one? Meet you in the middle between the wanting and the need.
Oh, Stone Throat.
Stone Throat. Okay. Stone Throat. And you talk about meeting meeting someone in the middle between the wanting and the need. So you could think about this in the ambivalence in the love space, like, ooh, that sort of craving type of love, and then the more sort of deep connected love. But then you could also think about that in terms of what you're talking about with the wanting craving that happens with the material success, and then the actual need that's being met for you in these song circles. Like, it's meeting a need, but maybe you're not rolling in the money from the song circle, but it's a deeper need, a deeper connection that you're getting and that you're offering too, that we are all part of that circle.
Yeah. It feels good I'm at this point, very grateful for the band. And I also understand that the band serves people. There's something about a song that you heard in your 20s that like will take you.
Yeah.
It's like this time travel, and you get to go back, and even if it's the worst breakup you ever had, it's like you go, oh, that was a hard time.
Yeah.
Like, but in a loving way. Like, you get to view yourself with this objectivity and compassion, and music really takes you there.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing that Toad offers. And we also offer, we have our new songs, but for kind of my sensibility and my heart, I like a little more intimacy. And so, just getting to sing Shavasana at Elisa's classes is wonderful. I love doing that. I love the song circles. I love, the ceremonial work I've done and stuff that's, just completely away from any kind of ambition. It's about being in a moment and being present and serving and even just offering praise, like to no one, to nothing, to life for bothering to be. And music has only recently been commodified, right? It's every human society sings, sings when they work, sings when they give birth, sings when they die. It's at the core of our experience. And like so many sacred things, I feel like we've taken it and commodified it. We made it, literally they call it product, right? Your album is product. Yeah. But the heart of it isn't a capitalist venture. And so for me, having that balance, being able to pay the rent with Toad, be really happy about that, and then be able to put the rest of my attentions on things that kind of fill my spirit. And, the balance of the two. And not that Toad doesn't, but it does it in a different way.
I want to talk about Shavasana Tuesday night. So Elise is another version of that. Like not like of not creating things for commodity. She teaches from the heart. She brings poetry to her teaching. She creates community that everyone wants to be in on. We're mat to mat in this yoga class on a Tuesday night at 5:30. People get there, they just are chatty. She has to like quiet us down. She's moving people.
She uses all her English teacher skills. She's really good at it. She puts her hands up to her ears and looks around the room.
Yeah, and so we're all squeezed in, and then she works us. She does a hard, beautiful, powerful class, and then slows us down, and then we all lie down, and you sing to us. But what happened this last Tuesday, it's happened a few times, but it happened more this last Tuesday, was that we started singing. Did you hear us?
Oh, yeah.
And I could hear another yoga teacher behind me, because the yoga teachers go to Elisa's class. Let's just say this, like the yoga teachers from the studio go to her class. That's how good a class it is. Could hear this other yoga teacher. And when I wanted to sing. And when she started to sing, it gave me permission to sing. And then other people permission to sing, and then we all wanted to stay, and we would like for you to have a whole concert after yoga class. But what is happening there energetically, like in terms of that community sing and the what's it like for you?
I mean, it's lovely. I need a wider repertoire for the Shavasana because I'm running out of songs. But I mean, once again, it's a vulnerable moment, right? You've just been, you have kind of the poetry she brings in, and you're broken open by, finding your edge with your body. And I think getting getting to take in something that's happening in the room. It's music does that anyway. I mean, my I haven't found a better metaphor for it, but I feel like recorded music is great, but it's a little like masturbation, whereas live music is like making love. Right?
Yes.
There's something
Yes.
in the fragility of a moment and in mistakes and in just aliveness and the way air moves in a room that really takes you somewhere different. And even especially unamplified music. It's part of why I love the song circles so much, and playing music in yurts is because it's in the moment. There's no nobody's paying to be there. I mean, or sometimes people are paying to be there, but it's not about a ticket sale. It's not about numbers. It's about
Or impressing. Yeah.
yeah, it's about being fully present in a moment, and there's a communality to it, and especially when everybody's singing together in a room. I mean, I just think we evolved to want and expect that, and we're hungry for it because our culture really doesn't offer much. I mean, we get to sing Sweet Caroline
Right.
and at a game and
Yeah.
there's karaoke night, but even that's about the individual getting up and singing a lot of the time, right?
Yeah.
It's about the spotlight on one person. And there really is something about being together, being vulnerable, whether we're singing together or whether you're really listening to listen, especially to a song you may not know. And you're fully present. Everything matters in that time. And it's, I don't know, it's a beautiful thing to be able to do. And I'm glad I found places where I get to, because no Elise, no Savasana. I mean, maybe I would have found it somewhere else, but
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about Love and Elise in this album. I mean, I was just hearing her in it. But before we do that, will you play us one Shavasana song? Maybe you can't play us part of Something Beautiful because that's not licensed, but there's other ones that are yours.
yeah. You were meant to be here. You were meant to be. You were meant to be here. You were meant to be. You were meant to be here.
So you've married someone fairly private, so we won't go too much detail into her. But I would like to talk about this sort of evolution of you, because you talked about you as a teenager and this big wave that just came to you, and here you are like signing a deal with a major record label, and you were on that for a while, and then you talked about depression, divorce. Walk us through into finding love again and how music played a role in that process.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I met, so she taught at a junior high that does these long bike trips. They'll bike from Sedona to Grand Canyon, the 8th and 9th grade, and then alternate years they go, I believe it's Bend to Ashland.
Yeah, my kids are in Anderson.
Yeah, my daughters, I have 3 grown daughters. They're all in their 20s. And the oldest is just about to get married, which is amazing. And my oldest was out as part of the staff as alumni. And so I did a little road trip up to Oregon to meet them. And Elise was there, cutting lettuce at the mess tent. And so I went over and helped make salad, and we talked for, an hour. And, somewhere in the middle of the conversation, I just kept thinking, all the good ones are taken. All the good ones are taken. And then she mentioned that she'd been separated for a year, like an hour into the conversation, and it was like, oh, maybe not. And so we just kept talking. And I remember we met in Santa Barbara again when we got back home. And we went for this walk on the beach. And I, in that talk, told her everything that could possibly be a red flag about me, right from the get-go, which is not, the overshare is traditionally like not the great first move, but there was something about her which just, it was either going to be 100% or not at all. And I'd been having my like typical post-divorce, hold on, I don't know, I'm just like playing the field, like had relationships, got out, and even at that time, I was like, my plan was to leave town as soon as my youngest daughter, I had like, I think a year and a half until she was 18 and moving out of town. And I was like, I'm going to get the hell out of Santa Barbara. I'm going to start new somewhere else. And I didn't want to have a relationship for a year. I was like, I need to learn how to love myself. I collapse on myself and then I put it all on a partner, and I don't want to do that anymore. And I don't want to make someone else responsible for my happiness.
Yeah.
And so I had some real plans, and Elise did not fit any of them. And at the same time, it was just clear really quickly, like, damn it, this will take 20, at least 20 years.
To make this happen? Or
yeah.
what? Yeah. Yeah.
Like being with her was not going to be quick or easy.
Oh, yeah.
Like and it wasn't something I couldn't just date around with her. Like
No.
It was clear. So that very first conversation, I laid everything on the table that if she found out later, she might go, huh? Mm-hmm. But it still honestly took me about 2 years to unpack like that, how badly I wanted to escape. And I'd been also in a really difficult relationship previously, and I didn't trust her, like, kindness sometimes. Yeah. I'd been hurt, and I was waiting for something to go wrong, and she wasn't entirely patient with me, but she was surprising. She believed in me and in us enough. She just kind of knew, and she held it out for both of us, and it took longer than I would have liked to, for me to just be both feet in. But I'm really grateful for it, because I mean, there's something about really being in relationship where choice feels like it has a lot less to do with it now. And there's something about declaring yourself to someone and being like, you're the one, you're my ride or die. So if I'm getting depressed, freaking out, thinking about other places I could be, how another life would be better, that I should leave everything behind. Because when I get depressed, it's just universal. Everything is wrong. I need to escape. Yeah. And to be anchored in and to know, what's that book? The Wisdom of No Escape?
Right.
It's kind of like, no, this is actually my life. This is where I'm supposed to be. And it's really helped me train my mind away from the idea that something elsewhere is better. Right. And I'm also lucky that what's right here is actually really good. Yeah. So sometimes something else is better. But you can just jump from one set of problems to another set of problems to another set of problems indefinitely. And there's something about devotion to a person that is so freeing. And just understanding that we're on this journey together, and it doesn't have to be epic or in any way. It's just like showing up in the morning and doing our best for each other, and some days not doing all that great, other days killing it, and then doing the next day. And
well, she also, Elise, is a middle school teacher, so she has capacity for those big lows. And I could see her not like you putting all your red flags on the first day, that like probably didn't knock her over. Like I could see her having some capacity
Yeah.
for that, or even interest and openness to it. I mean, she reads poetry in every class. She brings her own vulnerability to the spaces that she's in a really beautiful way, in a very sort of understated, gentle, but very strong.
Yeah.
She's got this interesting dialectic to her, but I could see that working. Like you didn't knock her off her
No,
ground.
she's hard to shake.
Yeah.
And I think my kind of wild airiness and flights of fancy and stuff are, useful to her. To a bit of extra wildness is good for her, and
Yeah.
I need some grounding, and we complement each other really well. And there's just, I don't know, there's just something there that was there from the very start that scared me to death, because it felt like the real thing.
That's how you know you're on the right track.
Yeah.
If you're like, I'm on the edge of something really big here, and my heart can barely hold it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, and she holds me accountable, which I need.
Mm-hmm. So something that really impressed me was coming to your performance that you did. It was a number of local performers that paired up with the Santa Barbara Symphony. Mm-hmm. And it was this beautiful collaboration. You were one part of many in this collaboration, but you came on at the end. And the song that you sang, I felt a little bit on the edge, like knocked me off my feet a little bit, when you had the symphony behind you and you were singing and pairing up with the strings.
Mm. It's a song called Leaving Old Town, from this album, Swallowed by the New, which was kind of my post-divorce record. And yeah, I happened to have a string arrangement already existing. Paul Bryan wrote it. And yeah, it was a fun part of the night, because the whole night had been like, 8-piece band or whatever. So it was rock band plus symphony.
Right.
My friend
Very
Tara
traditional
Ciccone.
way you would think of doing it, but you did something different.
Well, and there's something about turning off the band, taking the horns away, and just having strings and guitar and vocal that's all of a sudden, it's not the wall of sound. You can hear everything.
Right.
And so it was a striking moment in the
I guess my association to it, it came to me when you were talking about Elise, because it feels a little bit like that, of the intimacy that you had with those strings on the stage, and the intimacy you're talking about in relationship. There's a kind of intimacy that music can get us into. Literally our heartstrings. They talk about pulling on your heartstrings, that metaphor, right? Yeah. Yeah. And then the other piece about it was your willingness and the confidence that you have on a stage to, like, you really kind of commanded the stage. And that night we could see all the different artists. So there were some artists that came in and I could feel their nervousness, like this is like, whoa, this is a bigger stage than I'm used to. Or I have this huge, symphony behind me that's going to like launch me into something really scary. And then there was other artists that were just owning it. Like I've got this. Some singers there in particular, you could probably say their names, that were just like, whoa, you are a force. And then you came in, your energy on that stage wasn't timid or force. It was clear. You had just sort of like an ease, a clarity, an ease, and a collaboration, like that you were really collaborating with the strings.
Yeah, at its best, performing on a stage, I'm not going to be a huge showman.
Yeah.
Part of it's finding your lane. I mean, I think there are people who have that larger than life. And what I've found is that if I can just access a lot of presence, as myself and not having to, and, I can, I don't know, kind of forget I'm there and disappear, if that makes sense. Not in a disassociative way, but if you're practiced enough and if you've sung enough, at its best, you become the song and you're not really playing the game of being you anymore.
Yeah.
Which doesn't happen every night. I mean, I like, to get to a level of competence, and it doesn't happen every song where, you want to sing in time, you want to sing in tune, you want to not forget the lyrics or the chords, you want to be synced up with everybody else, you want to be affable and open and present. Mm-hmm. But the magical moments, the transcendent moments, are the moments where you just are the song, and the song comes through you, and you are practiced enough and fluent enough. And I mean, I think people find this, it's the same, Elise talks about it in yoga, of just dropping in, right? Mm-hmm. Is the moment where there's a sequence and there's just enough repetition in it, than rather than thinking, you're going to be going from warrior back and then it's into triangle, and you've done this before, and you stop thinking, and then you're just a vessel for asanas, right? Mm-hmm. And you're getting, once again, not to disassociate, but just to be something a little larger and different, and let something move through you, and let something move you. And
in those classes, as well as in that night when I had that transcendent experience with you and the strings, you were the song, but then you were also part of all of us, right? So in the yoga class, I'm the movement, but I'm also part of the whole flow of the class. You feel the whole class flowing around you, 360.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, the boundaries dissolve. When people talk about psychedelics or mushroom, like, it's part of that. Apparently psilocybin takes, some of the centers that deal with self-definition and kind of deny them a little extra blood flow as they're giving more serotonin to other parts. But that there's, we are always having to, essentially run a neurological simulation of the physical input to our bodies. And, there's this little delay. You get touched on your arm and your nerves send it up, and then your body goes, oh, and my arm's about here in space. You have proprioception, where your body is, what you're doing. We're always kind of simulating ourselves. and we have enough ego to get us to do things like mate and find food and hopefully also have fun. But it's so delicious, in meditation, right? It's like hoping, well, you get what you get, but getting beyond thinking, getting beyond just, right, all the doing, and just being able to be without having to be anyone or anything. And I think when you see someone on stage who's just clearly forgetting that there's a whole bunch of people looking at them, but feeling that there's a whole lot of people being with them. Yeah. Like, right?
There's an effortlessness to
There's
it.
an effortlessness that can happen, that can be really transcended, and that translates really beautifully. Those moments are absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
I love that you're making the connection between psychedelics, music, meditation, that these are all yoga. People are maybe experience the surfing, these ways in which the separateness dissolves and you're one with the whole of it, the beauty of it, the love, sex, another place where this happens. And we put up the things that block us. I mean, there's the cognitive control that blocks us, the self-doubt, the having to figure it out, the trying to make money, the getting them to like us, all the things that are the blocks to that effortlessness that's so beautiful and so transcendent, and that I think we crave, that just to be ourselves and be in love. Yeah. In whatever domain we're in. Yeah.
It's such simple stuff. I mean, I don't know why. I even just remembered, like, I was dance shamed as a kid, and every once in a while I find myself being able to dance again. And but thinking of having kids and dancing in the kitchen with little kids, which like no one cares if you look good doing it, and you can be an utter fool
Yeah.
You know, you can find it there.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, I just spent an hour dancing like a moron with
Yeah.
kids, like
Mm-hmm.
completely forgot about time or anything else. Like
Mm-hmm.
anytime, you know, it can happen in so many small ways as well. And yeah, I love that accessibility. But music feels like a cheat code a lot of the time. And that it's even available. It's one of the things, back to the community singing. I feel like those circle songs are this cheat code where non-musicians can experience this thing where they don't have to have a great voice.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a part of this larger sound. And the larger sound is beautiful.
Yeah.
And, you know, once again, your boundaries dissolve a little.
Yeah.
And you, especially with the circle songs, they tend to be really repetitive. And you kind of get in a trance. You just do this thing over and over and get to sit in this beauty that you're co-creating.
Right.
And you don't even have to do, you know, the years of study and work. And
this is why kirtan was always so attractive. I
Yeah.
mean, when I was in my 20s and I did a lot, I just would do a lot of kirtan at the ashram. And it was even better because it wasn't even in English that I understood the words to. So I could just get there quick. And I feel song shamed in my own voice. Like I don't think I actually can carry a tune. I actually don't think I can carry a tune. I wasn't exposed to a lot of music as a kid, as opposed to my kids that are like so musically dialed just because they've been in it for so long. But the being part of the collective sound, like there's even just like, it's not even my voice, it's our voice that is all of these vibrations coming together. And then the physical vibration of music and what we know now about sound, getting into the cells of our body and getting into our nervous system in a certain way, the pacing, the breath, the slowing down of the breath with the music. I mean, it's just activating so many different parts of us. It's very healing. How do you practice? You talked a little bit about psychedelics, but then off the air, you said
mostly I don't do, like, that's occasional.
No. I would say off the air. You said what you learned is you need to practice. You need a meditation practice or a spiritual practice that's not just like a escape practice.
I think psychedelic, like bringing them up because there's so much in the public right now.
Yeah.
And treated as a miracle cure.
Sure.
And in my experience, I've looked for the answers there. I've never found the answers there. What I found is that I can get a mental reset that if I then integrate that into daily practices, that can lead to change. And you can do it without the psychedelics. And I always come back, it's the same things. It's like yoga, exercise, being outdoors, seeing friends, journaling. I started doing like gratitude lists in the morning, 5 internal things, 5 external things, because gratitude can be really hard for me to hold on to. And I always kind of poo-pooed the gratitude list as like it's kind of woo, whatever. But as Tara Brach would say, the mind is negatively inclined.
Yes.
And my mind is often negatively inclined. And so
I love your mind. I relate to that mind.
yeah, but it's
a hard thing to wake up with sometimes.
It's
that mind.
good, but it's the waking up with it. And the depressed mind, that's the stuff that's always at the front.
Yeah.
And so to kind of, to maintain, and the other item was rest. But it's, I had kind of a long, one of those malaises that's like, it wasn't like I couldn't get out of bed and do things. It wasn't like I couldn't be a decent partner, but I didn't have a lot of vitality. And I've been really making slow, achievable changes. And part of it's that, and trying to remind myself I don't have to be perfect to be lovable, and so, it started with things like my phone charger is now in my music room, right over there, instead of next to the bed. So the phone is not the last thing I see at night, and it's not the first thing I see in the morning. It's tiny things. Got rid of all my social media. Got rid of Reddit. It's like, it's this paying attention to the inputs, paying attention to the output, and trying to just, I can get trapped in a feeling like I have to change everything about myself, like there's something fundamentally wrong. And the thing that actually seems to stick with me is it's just like small nudges. And the little tiny nudges really add up till you're heading in a different direction. And as my therapist always says, practice makes practice, right?
Yeah.
And it's with anything too. It's like, I think there's this American idea of arrival, that like if you get enough, you'll be safe. And then you stop working and you can golf all day or do, recreate. And like, or achieving enlightenment and then you're there, right? And that it's, one of Elise's favorite quotes is, how you live your day is how you live your life, right? It's like, the practices just build up, and they can lead to mastery. And mastery, is like, I don't know what the, number on the gauge is where you've reached mastery in something. But the thing about that is, like, that's not an arrival point. The people I know who are the greatest musicians or players or whatever else they do, I think of a guy like Chris Thiele in Nickel Creek. Who,
Oh, I love Nickel Creek.
He practices at least 4 hours a day, every day.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he got there and he stopped. And the other thing about him
The
is
Dalai Lama has 6 hours of meditation a day.
Yeah. And he's voracious
Yeah.
in terms of his musical curiosity. And if you show him something that's new or interesting, there is this element that it's not like you're aiming towards this goal and you're achieving it. Maybe you're like, I want to be able to play that piece. I want to practice fast and that I can do that thing. But if you're really motivated by curiosity and wonder, like, there's no stopping point. And your various interests also will start to grow and merge with each other, and you'll discover something new in between that. And it's just a good way to live as a practice. And I know when I'm depressed, I stop being curious. I stop being interested. I stop practicing. Like, these are, and I go into rumination. It's still something I have not been a good enough practitioner to keep far from myself. It's just interesting to note for myself, like, when I am depressed and when that part kind of takes over, that it's like, I notice I don't practice. And there are things that are most delightful to me about being me, or being curious, or learning, or reading, or playing the guitar, writing songs. I love the process. And it's amazing how long I can kind of deny myself those things.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
The trance, you
Yeah.
know. And then how quick it comes back.
How quick it comes back. And that it's not a self-improvement project to get yourself to be not depressed, but more to remember who you are and seek. You had a song, Clear Seeing?
Clear-eyed.
Clear-eyed.
Yeah.
Clear-eyed. And in that song, you said something about, as a kid, I was always clear-eyed. And as you're talking right now, I'm like, there's a lot of Glen clear-eyed in this conversation where you're just super clear, like the wisdom is super clear. And then when you're depressed, it's like that, like I can imagine we could be talking to a very different Glen.
Yeah.
And I can't see this.
I'm much more practiced at the other one.
Yeah.
I mean, back to practice. Like, you get good at what you do. And I've gotten good at reinforcing the negative. But I find that what delights me, even if it's difficult, I mean, songwriting isn't easy. There's lots to get through and figure out. A friend of mine said a long time ago, there's a problem to solve when you're writing. But, I had a friend who said, you got to look at, you look at problems like barriers. You got to look at a problem like a mathematician or a rock climber.
Yeah.
Like, for them, a problem is a good day at work,
Yeah.
right? For them, a problem is an exciting thing.
Yeah.
And a song is that same thing. But it can be amazing to see, like, wow, these are all the things that really delight me. And for some reason, I've been making every excuse possible not to touch them. So it feels really good to get a reset every once in a while and, kind of come out of the cave and then try to see if it can stick a little longer this time. But at the same time, kind of hold that there's nothing that needs to be fixed, right? Like, you come out of the cave as long as you can, and you're not getting graded, you're not getting judged,
And you might go back in again.
Might go back in again. But the good thing is the habits, like when you return to them, when you start practicing again, like the guitar never, like, maybe your fingers hurt a little more, but the guitar doesn't like start moping, saying, like, how could you leave me? Why'd you do this? It's just there. Yeah. They're all there, and they're all happy to be re-engaged with, So. Yeah,
it's beautiful. I feel that way about working in my garden. Like you can see the state of my mental health by the state of my vegetable beds.
I know. Our garden's sad.
But just how much time am I spending there versus how much time am I spending on all the other things when this is actually the thing that brings me so much joy and is the antidepressant and the connected to something bigger and in the flow, and there's no product that is a commodity, and I think most people maybe have that, or maybe they don't even know that they have it already. They haven't given it value. They haven't valued it, and especially if it's not something that society puts a value on. Music, maybe we're okay a little bit, but some other things, that we don't, especially in the U.S., put value on.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, being married to a teacher, right? It's like people will go, oh, teachers, you're the best. You give it all. But society does not value them at all.
No. I'm married to one too. I know.
Yeah.
It's
wild.
It's wild. And yet they are raising our children.
Yeah.
Shout out to our teachers. But yeah. Okay, Glen.
Well, thank you. That wandered.
I love a good wander.
Oh, good.
That means we got somewhere
okay.
in our wandering. You're going to close us out with a song.
This is on my new album. Which one is it? It's called The Sound of Drinking, but the title of the album, There Is So Much Here, comes from this song.
Okay, got it. Sorry, I'm not as well versed as I should be.
Quite all right. You did well.
Okay. But I do know The Sound of Drinking. Okay.
Yeah. So this is what it's like now, without the constant leaving, to sit and sense the seasons, to be him, Ellie be. The sound of drinking water, turning of the leaves, the movement of the moon, the spaces in between, the long year, the slow days. There is so much here that I had never seen. Your head upon my shoulder, and slipping into sleep, to drift within my thoughts and listen to you breathe. Coffee in the bedroom, the swaying of the pine, the freedom from the weighing and the measuring of time, the long the slow days. There is so much here that I had never seen. The long year, the slow days. There is so much here that I had never seen. There is so much here that I never seen. Go team.
What is it about being 2 feet from you singing? That is so fucking amazing. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Effort podcast. Wise Effort is about you taking your energy and putting it in the places that matter most to you. And when you do so, you'll get to savor the good of your life along the way. If you would like to become a member of the Wise Effort podcast, go to wiseeffort.com. And if you like this episode and think it would be helpful to somebody, please leave a review over at Podchaser. I would like to thank my team, my partner in all things, including the producer of this podcast, Craig, Ashley Hyatt, the podcast manager, and thank you to Ben Gold at Bell & Branch for our music. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only, and it's not meant to be a substitute for mental health treatments.